Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game Fireball Island: The Curse of Volcar. This was sent to me by Restoration Games, and is designed by, or I guess redesigned by, Rob Daviau, J.R. Honeycutt, and Justin D. Jacobson. Because for those of you who don't know, this was an old Milton Bradley game that actually I never played, but now it's an updated, fancy version. So, yeah. Let me give you a tour of the island. And here it is, the island of Volcar. As you can see, there's Volcar standing right there in the middle, the big scary guy. And there's marbles, and these are little treasures everywhere, like right here. You got palm trees and bridges and hills and paths, and here you got a ladder here. A lot of different little things. This is actually 3 different sections that you put together, and then they have a little thing here to bridge that gap. You got your little helicopter with your adventurers, the mall, some more marbles over there, and yeah. So just for scale, I guess this is my hand. So yeah, it's a pretty big island here. There are 4 playable characters. They all play exactly the same way, and then they all start on the helicopter, which is here, and you'll actually start on this sort of landing pad here when you get off of it. Each player gets a souvenir card face down to start. These are item cards that you can use for special bonuses, and then each player gets 2 action cards face down, and these will do things like oh, these are both Cataclysm cards, but move 6. After moving, drop all the fireballs in the scar into Volcar. And that gets discarded into the Cataclysm tracker, which I'll explain later. So to win the game, you have to have the most points when the helicopter returns to the island to take people away. You get points from treasures and snapshots. So on your turn, do these in this order. 1, if you are knocked over, let's say you were knocked over on a previous turn, you would stand your figure back up onto its base. Shit. Put that marble back here. If you are on more than 1 space, you can choose one of them. If you are not on any spaces, there's rules for that. But anyway, you can play an action card from your hand. You must move the full amount shown, and you may do its action. So let's say green decided to play this action card and move 6. They can move 6. Let's say they go this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they have the option to do the action on the card. In this case, drop all the fireballs in the scar into Volcar. So as you can see here, there's there's 1 fireball in the scar. So we pick that up and we drop it into Volcar. Now actually, I don't know why green's doing this. Let's say Volcar was actually facing this way. And let's say another friend was here. I don't know, this person. That would make more sense. Otherwise, green would just be killing themselves. So, drop the marble into Volcar, and dang, yellow is out. Of course, you don't have to do the action, but in this case, green was mad at yellow, so they decided to destroy them. Then you draw a new action card after you play your action card. Here's a Lava Blast. You move 8 after moving and launch an Ember Marble. I'll explain the Cataclysm tracker later. After the player draws their action card, go ahead and reset the island. Go ahead and put this ladder back up. Go ahead and pick this marble up, put it back in the scar over here. These are Ember Marbles, these orange ones, and fireballs, these red ones, go into the scar. Yellow, however, still stays beaten until that player goes. Souvenir cards tell you when you can play them. After you play, you put in the discard pile. For example, Tote Bag. If you were about to lose some treasures, you could play this and not lose any treasures. Here's the Jetpack. After you finish your action card, you can move 5 spaces and do not stop on unstable spaces, so it's some extra movement. There's no limit to how many of these souvenir cards you can have or play at any time. Now let's talk about odd starting spaces. Let's say you fall into a river or a lava chute or something like that. Move your figure down the island to the space at the end of the river. So in this case, if let's say purple fell here, they would have to go all the way down, and knock every bridge over apparently, and they would have to go here because they got washed down the river. If you get knocked off the island entirely, you can start in any cave. Caves are these spaces with the numbers on them. Here's a 2 cave, here's a 3 cave, so you could start here. Or if you just land in some weird spot like here, just go to the nearest spot, whatever is your choice. You could go here, whatever's closest. Now, you must move the exact number of spaces shown on the card. So if I use this card and I am purple, I gotta go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exactly. The only exception is if you come to an unstable space. Unstable spaces are like the bridge or the ladder. If you enter the bridge, it's unstable. So basically, you have to stop moving as soon as you enter it. That's the only thing that'll stop you. Otherwise, you got to do full action number spaces. It doesn't matter which direction you go, as long as you don't change direction. So if I have Cataclysm, I could go this way 6 spaces, or the other way. Doesn't matter. You can't be on the same space as a player, so if blue was here, you would go 1, skip, 3, 4, 5, 6. The helicopter here is connected to the helipad at the start and end of the game. So when you start off on the game, your first move will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or something like that. Once everyone is off the helicopter, you go ahead and put it aside until the end of the game. You skip over these muddy brown sections, so if I was here, I would just go 1, 2, 3, like that, and skip over any brown spots. Also, if a tree root is in your way, you don't get stopped by it, you just go over it. So 1, 2, 3, and continue. If you ever start or land on a cave, you can roll the orange die here. And you can place yourself in any cave whose number matches the roll. Don't spend a move to do so and keep moving. So let's say I start on this cave. So let's say I go 1, 2, and I roll I have 4 spaces left. I could roll the die. Let's say I got a 3. Then I could go over to the 3 cave over here and continue moving. If all caves with that number are occupied, do not leave your cave and stop moving. Snapshots are these spaces here. And if you start on or enter a snapshot space, you may take the matching snapshot card over here, unless you already have a snapshot of that color. All snapshot cards from that space have been taken by other players, or another player is in the snapshot space. If you have 3 different colored snapshots, you can summon the helicopter, and that's the end of the game. They're all worth 5 points, but as you can see, they're all in different locations on the map. So if I decided to go 1, 2, 3 and stop here, and take a snapshot, and I don't have a yellow snapshot already, I would get the Skeleton Head Beach snapshot, which is worth 5 points, and I get to keep that card. If you enter a treasure space, as you can see these sort of red triangles here, that's a treasure space. So if you start on or enter a treasure space, you can pick up one of the treasures that is next to that space. And these are also worth points at the end. Keep your treasures face down so that nobody knows what you have. And you may grab treasures from multiple slabs if you pass through more than one on your turn. So this guy could go 1, pick up a treasure, 2, 3, pick up another treasure. The Heart of Volkar, this big jewel here, is grabbed like any other treasure. When you grab the Heart of Volkar from its location, immediately add a fireball over to the scar. So if I have, let's see, this person here grabs the jewel. That means they have it, and then we gotta add a fireball to the scar. Fireballs in the scar are significant because the more fireballs there, the more fireballs get put into Volkar's head here when there's a cataclysm. Now, if you pass the player who's carrying the Heart of Volkar, you can steal it from them. So let's say purple was here, and old greenie here is right behind them and has some movement. They could go 1, 2, steal the Heart of Volkar from them, and then try to run away. Now let's look at some of the card's actions. After moving, you may do the action shown on the card. So this one is a run card. You move 12. You cannot grab treasures from slabs while moving with this action, but you can still steal treasures and take snapshots. And after moving, if you want, you can rotate something on the island. If you rotate Volkar, you can put him in a different direction, like that. Turning him once in either direction, so he could go that way, or he could turn back this way. If you rotate a tree, like this one, let's say you want your opponents to have some trouble with these, you could try to do this here. These can also like block marbles that fall down that way. There's some strategy you can utilize with those tree roots. This Lava Blast action lets you launch an Ember Marble. So not the fireballs you put in Volkar, but these orange marbles that are on the board. When you launch an Ember Marble, use only one finger to push it. You cannot flick it with a thumb-finger combo. You can push it as hard as you like. But if it leaves the island, you must put one of your treasures into the maw for your insolence. And anyone you knock over stands up without losing a treasure. So, try not to knock it off completely. But let's say I want to kill purple here. I could push it, and there we go. Purple gets knocked over. When your figure is knocked over, you lose a treasure of your choice. If another player knocked you over, they get that treasure. So let's say I was green and I knocked over purple, and she was carrying a blue treasure. I get to take it from her. And then you get to draw a souvenir card if you're the one who was knocked over. That way, it's not completely horrible for you. If you knock yourself over on accident, put your treasure into the maw. And then you can still draw a souvenir card for your pain. Some spaces are safer than others. If you fall over from vibrations on the island, that still counts as getting knocked over, even if you didn't get hit by anything. However, if you or your cat bumps the island, that doesn't count. You ignore the effects and put things back. So let's go over the Cataclysm. When you play a Cataclysm card, you discard it into the Cataclysm tracker. So as you can see over here, there are 3 card slots in the Cataclysm tracker. You put the first one here. When it fills up all the way, what you do is you reshuffle all played action cards, including the Cataclysm cards, and the regular discard pile. Shuffle them up, and then you add 1 more marble to the scar. So as you can see, there will be more and more marbles there as time goes on. When all 4 marbles are laid into the scar, the game is over. Now obviously you want to see the Cataclysm actually happen, so let's do it. Let's drop all 4 marbles in and watch what happens. 1 fell over there. Green just fell from vibrations. That one sent way over there. And that one knocked over a bridge, and look, blue got knocked over too. So green and blue both got knocked over by the Cataclysm. Now, if a player enters the helipad and they have, let's say, 3 different colored snapshots, or if the scar ever has 4 red marbles in it, then that means at the end of the turn, the helicopter comes back. By the way, it's called helicopter. I'm not just saying helicopter weird. The helicopter comes back and players may climb aboard. Place the helicopter near the helipad. Players may enter the helicopter from the helipad even if they don't have 3 snapshots. And you don't need to arrive by exact count. So if he had 4, you go 1, 2, 3. When entering the helicopter, choose a token in the maw and put it in front of you. This can be the Lucky Penny token or a treasure put there during the game. So the treasures that get lost here, you can start to pick them up at the end. Once a player is in the helicopter, they do not leave it for the rest of the game. They cannot be knocked over and nobody can move them or pass them by to steal anything. Other cards may still affect them though. But players on their turn still play a card, but only follow the actions. The game ends when all players return to the helicopter, or all players have had 2 turns after the end of the game was triggered. At the end of the game, you score like this. Each color treasure, the more colors you have, the more points you'll get. For 1 treasure, you just get 1 point per color. But as it goes up, 2 treasures is 3 points, 3 treasures is 6 points, 4 is 10 points, and 5 and up is 15 points. So you want to collect more of 1 color if you can. The Heart of Volkar by Marvel. The Heart of Volkar is 7 points. Each snapshot is worth 5 points as long as you're on the helicopter, otherwise they don't count. And the Lucky Penny, if you pick that up from the maw, is 6 points. Add up the points from the treasures and snapshots you're carrying, and whoever has the highest score wins. If there is a tie, whoever made it to the helipad first wins. Bye, Volkar. I only knew Fireball Island by reputation, but I never played it as a kid, so there was just a lot of hype surrounding this re-release, and now that I have it, does it live up to that hype? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit disappointed in some of the component quality. Like, I understand why they did 3 plastic trays. It does make it look very tall, but they feel kind of cheap. They're just kind of like cheap plastic. Like, I don't know. I think it kind of has the feel of like toy not as cool as pictured feel. Maybe I was expecting too much. But I mean, it works. It works for what it is. Some of the lines between spaces look kind of muddy, like not the literal mud, but like just like not clear. The helicopter and maw are kind of slightly janky cardboard. With that said, it's serviceable. It's fine, and it does look nice and big on the table. The gameplay mechanics are decent. I obviously vastly prefer action cards and abilities over rolling dice. But the card play and movement was never really exciting for me. It's just kind of simplistic, moving around and you pick things up and you're just kind of waiting for fireballs to appear, because we all know that's the best part. That's the reason why you're playing the game. You know, I get that they wanted to keep it simplistic and kind of like faithful, and you know, it's like a kid's game. But it is ultimately not very interesting what you're doing. You're basically trying to go to color spaces, get pictures of colors, or pick up colored circles, and it's kind of it. But Sungwon, you say, who gives a shit about that? How are the fireballs? Okay, so I mean, flicking the fireballs and watching Volcar spit the fireballs, it's pretty fun. There's always satisfaction when you manage to hit another player, and I appreciate that you can't get knocked over more than once. The way the game is set up, where if your character is knocked over, they don't get back up until your next turn. So it's not like you can just keep getting knocked over, knocked over, knocked over. Otherwise, it would just be miserable, because you'd be just getting bombarded with fireballs. But even then, it didn't live up to the sheer chaos I was anticipating. I mean, oftentimes you just drop a few balls and not a whole lot happens. It's fine. I feel like the game needed to go down one extreme or another. Either go gameplay route, and yeah, it's a kid's game, but beef it up. Beef it up so that, because who's really buying this? It's adults who like remembered this game. So why not go full balls in, like, hey, let's have some cool gameplay mechanics, you know, not super complicated, but just a little more, so that you feel engaged no matter what you're doing. You're not just waiting for fireballs to fall down. Like, your movement and your abilities feel like exciting and engaging. Or instead of going gameplay route, go big on fireball toy value, like more bridges, more fireballs, like bigger hills, traps, like go full in on production value, because we all know why we're really playing this game. And it's not for complexity or really gameplay. It's to watch things get knocked over. I would have loved to see, like, more things fucking fall over and just, you know, chaos. As it stands, it's a decent kids game with some pretty serviceable mechanics that make you not want to, like, hate playing the game. It looks pretty good. You get to, sometimes, if you're lucky, you get to watch marbles roll down. They did a good job. Obviously, it's a step up from the original, but unless you're a die-hard fan of the original, I'm not sure if this will live up to the steep expectations you might have when you hear the name Fireball Island. Like, either give me more cool gameplay or give me more fireball chaos and destruction. As it is, it's fine.